I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is going to be a cloudier week, a less warm week, and we even have, cautiously optimistic, some rain chances, some meaningful rain chances through this work week, and especially end of week into the weekend, even a better chance there. I'm Camden Walker. Thanks so much for tuning in to our weekly Sunset Chat. It's now a holiday edition Sunset Chat on this holiday Monday. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you're ready for a little cooler, a little cloudier, a little wetter. The latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. Indeed, Peter, we need the rain, and we are actually, I think, going to get it for once. Good evening, David. Thanks so much for tuning in. Radar is active this evening, and actually what we're seeing now southwest of town is generally the favorite area for at least this work week. The main low pressure system, I'll show you the animation in just a moment, that is generally sticking south and west of DC. Let's see if we can blow this up a little bit better for you. I don't know why it shrunk down in size. There we go. That's a little bit better. The cool anomalies in the atmosphere are in the blue. Warmer, higher pressure regions are in the red. And as you can see, this low pressure system is our weather maker this week. It's kind of cut off from the main west to east jet stream flow. Hangs over the general southeastern and mid-Atlantic regions of the United States. And at the surface, it brings us kind of waves of precipitation of showers and storms this week. So we could see meaningful rain, especially getting into the end of the week, into the weekend. Gosh, we might even have to talk about a slight risk for flooding into near this weekend. This is welcome rain, but generally favored south and southwest of town. Look at that. We could see by the time you talk to me in about 6.5 days. You'll talk to me on Sunday, of course. This upcoming weekly Sunday Sunset Chat is only a holiday edition on this Juneteenth. Indeed, Rick, we could see some rain on Wednesday afternoon. And in David, this rain is going to get going here over the next 6 to 7 days. Happy Juneteenth, Kristen. Thanks so much for tuning in from Facebook. And glad to hear the rain is inbound. Yes, indeed, Darren, I am as well. And I appreciate you tuning in from Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. We've got the rainfall deficit. In the reds here, we have some regions that have seen little to no rain. In the last 2 weeks, this map is kind of what gardeners and farmers hate to see in the red. Little to no rain in the red regions over the last 14 days. Now, in the medium to longer term, this has indeed spread drought in the region. We've got more drought than when you talked to me about 8 days ago on our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat. The drought is luckily D1, known as moderate drought, the first level of drought. So that is some good news. But at least be aware that with our rain chances this week comes more atmospheric moisture in the form of humidity. We could see our highest dew points maybe of the season year to date. We could see some mid-70s by the end of the week into the weekend. Latest forecast by Jason Samanow at CWG.news/latest. And Paul, wanted to see what Friday looks like, but it does look wet, Paul, if you're going out on Friday. Not the highest confidence forecast just yet, but it is the highest potential rain chance we've seen for a while. Wind is another consideration tomorrow and Wednesday. You may have seen I put some kind of breezy emojis into the Tuesday, Wednesday forecast. Now, this helps keep air quality under control for the most part. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple spots, isolated, patchy, good orange air quality in the coming days. But overall, rain is good for air quality, but near surface smoke is around in the next 24, 36 hours. You might smell a little bit of smoke in the air. Luckily, we won't see hazy skies since we'll have clouds and rain around starting on Wednesday into Thursday mainly. Tomorrow could be generally a rain-free day around town, but luckily rain chances continue to increase throughout the week. And smoke hopefully can abate a little bit. Only at worst is it at a moderate level, so air quality should not be too compromised as we get into this work week. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in on our this could be, I think, our latest weekly chat together on the Sunset Chats. Now at 8:36 p.m. We're about a minute and a half off from our longest daylight, which we will see this week during the summer solstice, about 14 hours and 53 to 54 minutes. And by the time you talk to me next Sunday in 6 days, we'll be about sunset about 22 seconds earlier. than right now. So I am technically speaking to you at the latest possible for these weekly Sunday or holiday Monday chats, these weekly chat lives on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Thanks so much for tuning in on all three services. I'm simulcasting to you live on all three right now. Pollen, my goodness, it's felt better since I last talked to you 8 days ago on last Sunday. Trees, weeds, grass, mold, all low. I hope you have felt better, fellow allergy sufferers. I know I have as well. Looking ahead to the weekend, a little warm, a little muggy. 80s are on tap for Saturday and Sunday. Now, average high temperatures are about mid 80s for this time of year, starting to sneak toward the upper 80s. But when you see blue like this, the atmosphere for next work week is also being below average, so we might stay cooler than that, maybe some 70s for high temperatures perhaps. More of the same potentially from this week that we'll experience next week as well. And that includes the precipitation department. Look at this. We actually have a decent chance of above average precipitation for this upcoming work week next week as well, 8 to 14 days out. And I think we did hit our third 90-degree day, so I'll update our heat tracker for the third 90-degree day this year. 90s may not happen anymore for this month, if you can believe it. June may get away without any 90-plus degree heat, so we might stop the counter at 3 for a little while. Today was our third day. Here's our summer outlook at CWG.news/summer. We think it'll be tolerable heat this summer. We think we are going to chip away at this drought, like I've been saying, and I hope you've had faith in kind of these climate longer-term models for the summer. It's right at the edge of my knowledge. Meteorology meets climatology, right? But we have seen kind of the indications and signals and the outlooks looking forward for seasonal forecast. Always low-medium confidence at best, but we've got much-needed rain coming to us this week. We hopefully can expect more of the same this summer, kind of cooler than we've seen, but still warm at times. So, Paul, I hope that answers your question. And I'm not going to talk about how much daylight we're losing for a while, Paul, until maybe late July might be noticeable. And indeed, summer solstice is this week, and baseball this week could be a bit wet. Tomorrow looks like we could squeeze in some rain-free time around town, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday rain chances are on the increase, Jeff. And I think I've caught up. Oh, Elizabeth, hello. Indeed, this big smoke plume this year from Quebec and Alberta has indeed made us pay better attention to our air quality index around town. So let me put that up again. Smoke is around a little bit this week, near surface smoke, but at moderate at worst. Generally green-yellow air quality. I wouldn't be surprised by some patches of orange this week at times, but generally speaking, we have breezes and rain, and that's pretty good for the air quality. So keep that in mind. Let me find my wind map. Here it is. The wind over the next couple of days, we kind of actually have the windy state potentially being Wednesday, but gusts to 20, maybe 25 miles per hour possible tomorrow as well. Can't be ruled out, so that's great for air quality as well. And nights under 70 degrees, we are going to add to that in the coming week because we do have higher dew points coming in. Mid-70s are possible, the highest dew points, I think, of the season so far. Latest forecast at CWG.news/latest, and unfortunately, Jason does promise you more warmth and mugginess. Oh, hey, on Twitter, we've got M&N Collecting. Thank you much for tuning in. You're most welcome for the updates. And again, sticky, unpleasant conditions, muggy. I hope not sultry. I think we'll stay a little bit better than sultry this week, but with our increasing rain chances comes increased atmospheric moisture, which means increased humidity. Could be the worst dew points, uncomfortable dew points of the year so far. All right, David, let's talk about the tropics. That's a great question. You are all on top of the latest. So here is Brett that has formed a few hours ago, way out in the Atlantic. The earliest a main tropical system has ever formed that far east in the Atlantic. This is much more typical of near peak season between, maybe mid-August to mid-September. That's kind of where we expect the Cape Verde, Cabo Verde season to begin in the eastern Atlantic, but with record warm sea surface temperatures, we are unfortunately seeing a very record early start to the main development area there off the Cape Verde Islands. Brett is a record setter. It is slowly heading toward the Lesser Antilles. As you can see here, over the next 7 days, kind of through Friday night, tropical storm force winds are possible heading toward Puerto Rico, Hispaniola. And there are some time markers along with the most likely time of the tropical storm force winds. And the outlook, I think, from the National Hurricane Center, we'll see, this is from May, but I think with the confirmed record sea surface temperatures, we are going to see an uptick in the forecast here for the seasonal outlook from the National Hurricane Center. And I will cross off by next week the name Brett that just developed the last few hours. Our next name storm is possible later this week, Cindy, with that kind of tropical investigation, that system slowly developing with medium chance over the next 7 days behind Brett there in the orange X. Unfortunately, along the same path, but we will watch it, of course, at capitalweathergang.com. And again, closer to home, heat tracker, only the third day, I think. We finally hit 90 degrees today. That's our third 90-degree day of the season. We're a little cooler, and we're going to chip away at that drought in the coming week, hopefully. But see the latest in our forecast for the summer at CWG.news/summer. And indeed, smoke is worse this year, Paul, from Quebec and from Alberta. I will tell you that we've got this perfect setup. It's part of why we've had cooler conditions in the mid-Atlantic and drought conditions in the mid-Atlantic. We're on the edge of a trough of low pressure that's been persistent. It's bringing air out of Canada, which is fairly unusual for June, down into the mid-Atlantic. It is keeping the smoke from Canada locked in to the mid-Atlantic. So we can expect a little bit more of the same unless we can kick this pattern out of here. But as I was showing you, the anomalies in the atmosphere, kind of the stuck low pressure system, sticks over much of the eastern United States. And the warmth there in Canada, that is playing into the dry heat up in Quebec. We might see more fires erupt there again in the coming week or two, unfortunately. Precipitation from this pesky low pressure system that's cut off from the main jet stream flow that generally would move it out from west to east. Look at this entire week of just waves of showers and storms are possible. I want us to keep in the back of our mind near the end of this week into the weekend, we could see some heavier downpours that could lead to a slight chance of flooding. Yes, our soils will be happily taking it, but after several days of potential medium-high rains, we want to just take a small eye on this weekend's heavy rain potential with slight flooding in the back of our mind. Rain totals generally favored the heavier areas south and southwest of town over the next 6-7 days. Look at that, potentially, fingers crossed, 5 inches of rain. This is a persistent low pressure system, so we are cautiously optimistic we will see more than 1 to 2 inches of rain in the region. Of course, we're in a drought, so we need to realize as human forecasters that it is hard to kick the pattern of a drought. It's hard to get out of that loop, that negative feedback cycle. But I think we're going to get there this week. We're going to finally break it. And indeed, tropical weather, Rick, that's a good question. Later this season, typically towards September, October, sometimes we see a tropical system move up the coast, and we should hopefully by then be a little bit more drought-free, a little less persistent drought as well. But that's a great question. Most welcome, Elizabeth. Paul, I hope I answered your question about the smoke. Great. All right. Let me know if there's anything else. It looks like we've got TV's Brink saying no, he doesn't like this weather. We're doing so good weather-wise, but thanks for tuning in from Twitter, Eminem, and TV's. All right, I'm Cameron Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Caught up on your questions and comments, but let me know if you have any more. I'm on the air another 6 minutes or so. Radar is active, and it could generally favor areas southwest of town this week. What we're seeing on radar tonight could generally be the favored heavier rain area spots for this upcoming work week as well. Latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. A lull in the rain is possible tomorrow. You're most welcome, Rick and Paul. But we could see a cloudy week. We could see a cooler week, and one that does bring an increased amount of rain chances of showers and storms, especially as we get into Wednesday and Thursday and on into the weekend, unfortunately. But hey, we've had so much nice weather. I think most of us would agree we can exchange our good weather, even if it comes on the weekend. Much needed rain, we'll take it, even on the weekend. So breezes are possible Tuesday and especially Wednesday. Could be a little bit gusty at times, and we could be a little bit humid at times. I'll get to that in just a moment. This anomaly of cool, low pressure in the kind of mid-levels of the atmosphere, it's persistent over us for this week, maybe even next week. This brings us waves of showers and storms, especially Wednesday onward. Tomorrow we could eke out a fairly dry day around the region. Might be our last dry day for a little while. But cloudy, less warm conditions come along with this. Rain totals are looking very healthy. Cautiously optimistic. We are in a drought, so I do caution against taking these at face value. These could be a little bit overdone, but there are indications that as we get closer to the end of the week, into the weekend, downpours could be enough that we do see patchy, isolated isolated areas of flooding. So we want to make sure we avoid being too complacent as this rain piles up into this weekend. So please stay tuned to capitalweathergang.com as we get closer to the end of the week and into the weekend. Now here it is, our rainfall deficit the last 14 days. Gardeners, farmers, especially in the red areas where you've seen little to no rain in 14 days, you've been watering constantly and you're very tired of it. This increased short-term dryness is playing into the longer-term drought that continues to develop and spread in our region. But here's the good news: even though aerially the coverage, the geographic coverage of the drought is greater than it was even last Sunday when you talked to me 8 days ago for our Sunday Sunset Lives every week. This is, of course, a holiday edition, Sunset Live Q&A. But the drought, luckily, is only D1 moderate drought. We haven't seen anything worse than that. But our latest forecast explains that with increased rain chances, which are much needed this week, we get increased mugginess. Latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. By the end of the week and the weekend, we could get near mid-70s for dew points. But again, we've had such a good string of weather, I think we'll take some discomfort if that is concomitant, if that comes along with rain chances on the increase, especially by the end of the week into the weekend. So that's some great news. All right, wind is around Tuesday, especially Wednesday. I think we could see gusts more than tomorrow's gusts. 20-25 miles per hour tomorrow could turn into maybe 30 degrees tomorrow as well. Tuesday digit 6 out of 10 from Matt on our team. So our clouds tomorrow and kind of less warm conditions do give Matt a lower digit. He's graded at a 6 out of 10. But the winds, I want to focus on decent air quality this week. Despite some smoke around, we're kind of stuck with this air coming down from Canada, which is the source of the wildfire smoke. We're kind of stuck with it as long as this low pressure system continues to pull down air from Canada, again this week, perhaps even next week. But the good news is that this is generally moderate near surface smoke. Rain and breezes will keep it kind of churning and moving along. We'll get some fresher air at times, but I can't rule out moments where you do smell some smoke. We could have a couple patches of orange air quality, but generally decent air quality this week is the good news. But I just didn't want you to be alarmed if you smelled some smoke this week. All right, pollen is doing much better. I hope you feel better like I do compared to the pollen reports last Sunday for Sunday Sunset Weekly Chat. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for following on all 3 social media channels, and it is officially our latest Sunset Live Chat Q&A. This is our holiday edition. Happy Juneteenth. Next week will technically be 22 seconds earlier, but it's about the same time. When you talk to me in 6 days, back to our weekly Sunday Sunset version of our weekly Q&A chat. We're right near the longest days of the year because the summer solstice is basically upon us. 14 hours and 53 minutes. We'll get to about this week, maybe 54 minutes in some luckier spots in the region. Hi, Adandra. Beautiful weather today. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Wow, you got 2 inches at Bill and Leesburg. That's excellent. And yep, the rain should come, and we do seem to be in a pattern next week or two, David, for some increased rain chances and some slightly cooler temperatures. But in the medium term, looking into the weekend, still kind of warm, near average 80s for the weekend. Could be a little bit muggy, as we touched on earlier. Could get some dew points in the mid-70s at times, but temperatures next week kind of stay at or below this level, generally speaking, leaning with slight probability for below average temperatures. And more good news, talking about this pattern changing, David, leaning with decent probability for above average precipitation next work week as well. Tropics have heated up. Here's my last minute on the air. Tropics have heated up. We've got Brett, Tropical Storm Brett has developed a few hours ago. And behind it is yet another record-setting potential development. We never have seen this early and this far east in the Atlantic, but development this early in the year. But we've got record high sea surface temperatures. And we've got the path of Brett. Here's the expected, most likely arrival time for tropical storm force winds this week, heading into the Lesser Antilles. Might be a hurricane by the time it gets there, but the good news is it is looking like a slow developer, Brett, as it generally might head toward Puerto Rico, which is unfortunate, but plenty of still some time for that to change. All right, have a really good week, and I will leave you with the forecast. And radar, really quick, is active. This is where we expect the most active activity on the radar this week. Actually, the preferred rain areas where we could see over 5 inches of rain are generally southwest of town this week, but rain chances are increasing. Maybe dry-ish around town tomorrow, slight rain chance only, but it's cloudy. It's a little less warm this week. We're breezy Tuesday and Wednesday, but rain chances increase as we head into the end of the week. Maybe even watching some downpours and flooding, patchy flooding potential by Saturday. Please stay tuned to CapitalWeatherGain.com, and again, check out our head editor, Jason Samanel, who wrote the latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. Bill, you're most kind. Thanks so much for tuning in. David, you have a great week. Happy Juneteenth to all of you, and I'll see you in 6 days for back to our Sunday version of our Sunday Sunset Chat. Hope you had a great holiday weekend, and enjoy the cooler, cloudier, and rainier weather. It's a nice change, and we're going to hopefully kick this drought. Bye for now.